Once upon a time, in a cozy little neighborhood, there lived a kind man named Mr. Hoppy. He had a gentle smile and twinkling eyes that sparkled like stars. Mr. Hoppy loved two things more than anything else in the world: his garden and his neighbor, a lovely lady named Mrs. Silver. She was kind and cheerful, with silver hair that shone like moonlight. Every day, Mr. Hoppy would peek over the fence to see Mrs. Silver tending to her beautiful garden. "Good morning, Mrs. Silver," he would call out cheerfully. "Good morning, Mr. Hoppy," she would reply with a warm smile. But there was one thing that made Mr. Hoppy's heart sink like a heavy stone. Mrs. Silver had a pet tortoise named Alfie, who was slow as molasses and as grumpy as an old shoe. Alfie spent his days munching on lettuce and lounging in the sun, while Mr. Hoppy watched with longing. "Oh, if only I could make her notice me," he sighed. One sunny afternoon, while watering his flowers, an idea popped into Mr. Hoppy's head like a balloon bursting with excitement. "I'll make Alfie the fastest tortoise in the world," he declared. With determination in his heart, Mr. Hoppy rushed inside and began to plan his grand adventure. He gathered all sorts of supplies: carrots for snacks, colorful ribbons for motivation, and even a tiny racing helmet made from an old bottle cap. The next day, armed with his plans and bursting with enthusiasm, Mr. Hoppy approached Mrs. Silver's garden. "Hello again," he said, trying to hide his excitement. "Hello, Mr. Hoppy. Are you ready for another day in paradise?" she beamed. "Oh, yes, but today is special!" He cleared his throat dramatically. "I have decided to train Alfie for the Great Tortoise Race." Mrs. Silver's eyes widened in surprise. "The Great Tortoise Race? Oh my goodness! How fun!" Mr. Hoppy nodded vigorously, waving his hands around like an excited windmill. "I believe we can make Alfie the fastest tortoise, with training and lots of snacks." Mrs. Silver chuckled softly as she scratched her head in confusion. But Alfie is not really a racer." "Not yet," said Mr. Hoppy with a wink. And so began their adventure. Every day after that, Mr. Hoppy visited Mrs. Silver's garden with new ideas to help Alfie become speedy. "Let's start with some warm-up stretches," he suggested one day, demonstrating how to stretch like a very silly tortoise himself. Alfie stared at him with big, round eyes that seemed to say, "What are you doing?" But Mr. Hoppy didn't give up. They set up tiny obstacles made of sticks and leaves for Alfie to crawl over, while cheering him on like wild fans. "Go, Alfie, you can do it!" they shouted together. And although Alfie moved at the speed of a sleepy snail, slowly but surely, Mr. Hoppy never lost hope. Days turned into weeks, filled with laughter and joy as they trained together in the sun-drenched garden, while birds chirped sweet melodies above them. Then came the day of the Great Tortoise Race. All the animals in the neighborhood gathered around to watch the fun. There were rabbits hopping about excitedly and birds fluttering overhead as if they were wearing tiny party hats. Mr. Hoppy stood proudly at the starting line next to Alfie and gave him an encouraging pat on his shell. "Remember, slow and steady wins the race," he whispered. As the race began with a loud bang from a cheerful horn, a trumpet played by a very enthusiastic parrot, off went the tortoises at their own charming pace. Alfie plodded along steadily while other tortoises zoomed past like speedy rockets. The crowd cheered wildly as they watched each tortoise scoot along. "Go, Alfie! You're doing great!" yelled Mrs. Silver from the sidelines, her voice filled with love. Mr. Hoppy clapped his hands excitedly as they rounded each bend of the track. And just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Alfie found his rhythm. He began moving faster than ever before, which was still pretty slow compared to everyone else. And with every inch he gained on the other tortoises, cheers erupted from his biggest fans. Finally, as they neared the finish line, something magical happened. A little rabbit tripped and tumbled over its own feet just ahead of Alfie. With one last determined push, Alfie waddled right past it. The crowd gasped in surprise, and then they erupted into joyous cheers. "Alfie, Alfie!" As they crossed the finish line together, with Alfie coming in second place, they all hugged each other tight. Mr. Hoppy laughed until he nearly cried. "You did it, Alfie!" shouted Mr. Hoppy joyfully. Mrs. Silver beamed at her beloved tortoise and said happily, "You may not have been first, but you've won our hearts." From that day on, Every time Mr. Hoppy looked over at Mrs. Silver's garden, his heart felt full of happiness and pride. Not just for winning second place, but for building such a wonderful friendship through their adventures together. And even though Alfie would always be slow as molasses, the laughter and love between them made every moment feel like magic. And so, dear friends, remember this tale? It's not about how fast you go, but how much joy you share along the way. With hearts full of laughter and smiles shining bright, until next time, keep dreaming big and sharing love every day.